video for how to set up Proxmox. We're going to be doing this in a virtualized environment, but the process is basically the same if you're doing it on a physical host. To get started, you'll need the Proxmox ISO that you can download from their website, and then you're going to either need to turn that into a bootable USB stick, or if you've got a physical DVD drive, then you'll be able to do it that way. The alternative is, as I'm showing here, to use the actual ISO image straight into a virtualized environment. So we're going to go straight in with choosing the graphical installation option, and as this runs, I will probably drop out and actually speed up the video so that we don't sit here kind of watching a blank screen of progress. So I'll just I'll come out of that whenever there are any options or buttons to press. So first up, we've got the end user license agreement. You can read that if you want, or just hit agree. Next, you'll be given the option to choose which hard disk to use. This is a nested environment, so we've got 100 gig QEMU hard disk here. There's some other options as to exact formats, etc., but we're going to take the defaults on this. You'll want to set up your country, time zone, and keyboard layout on the next page, and then you're going to want to put in your password, which is the root password for the machine that you are setting up. Really important step on the next one, which is actually to make sure that you do include a valid email address here. It's not just for marketing purposes. If it's used for marketing purposes at all, I don't know. But what I have seen is that it's actually used for some form of, I think, sort of reverse, if not proxy, then relayed monitoring via email that Proxmox support. So I've actually had a RAID controller with a DUF disk attached to it actually result in some notifications being sent out to a valid email address which I've used in a professional context, and it's actually then highlighted the fact that we did have a RAID failure, which we were subsequently able to go and fix. So I'd say it's really, really worthwhile entering that information. And obviously we're going to hit next. Oh, and I've got the password wrong, so I'll try that again. And we'll pop the whole thing in again. If I could type properly, which I can't. Let's try again. Hey, there we go. Okay, so the next page, you've got the option to set up the management interface. We've only got the one interface on this nested virtual machine, so we have to take that one. The host name is where we're going to use a name that I've already set up as a static A record on my local DNS. But you can just use, you could use anything you like there if you're just going to use the IP addresses, and it won't really matter. If you're building a cluster, make sure that each name you use is unique. So we're now going to pop in the details of the IP address that will match the actual fully qualified domain name there. We've got the gateway in order for it to get to the internet, and the DNS server. In my case, these are the same. In many cases, if you've got a separate DNS server or Active Directory domain controller running DNS, then that's what you'll want to make sure is set appropriately. Also, it's worth noting, of course, that this is a CIDR notification style subnet mask, so that would normally be 255.255.255.0, and obviously you've got to make sure that that matches whatever you've got on your local network environment. You can accept the DHCP based option, as is picked up here, but for best practice for any kind of server environment, I would always go with a static IP. So we're going to hit next, and then we're presented with the installation information, and we can just hit install. So when we get to the end of the installation, what we'll need to do is to flip over to the other window for the actual top level host in order to disconnect the ISO ROM before we allow the machine to reboot. So we're actually going to untick that about the automatically reboot, and off we go, and we'll speed up the video while this runs. Okay, so what we now need to do is to hop over to the host level and disconnect the ISO CD-ROM drive, which is there. So we'll go and set that to not use any physical media. Then we can hop back to the actual VNC terminal session, and we can hit reboot. All being well, it should restart. But if not, maybe we'll go and give it a quick kick. Okay, we'll just quickly power it off and on again, and hopefully that will sort it out. I think I have a couple of tasks here, possibly contesting over what they're going to do. Oh, it doesn't want to do a stop. It's still trying to do the reboot. We might be waiting for a moment. If we're stuck, we'll speed up the video again. Okay, yeah, it's timed out on the reboot, so we can now hit stop. Okay, normally you wouldn't have to do this because you'd be able to simply reboot, eject the disk and or USB stick, and on you go. So that has now started again, and let's have a look on the console. There we go. So we've come up to the grub bootloader, gone straight through from that. And in a moment, it should get all the way up to the main console output when it's finished booting. There we go. Okay, so that's all you will see on the actual VNC virtual console or your physical monitor if you've installed this on a physical machine. We can log in using root and the password that we entered. There we go. But most importantly, see, I can't even type exit. Oh dear. We've got the address here of 192.168.5.225, which we've also got set up as a DNS name, but we'll go in with the IP address for sake of argument. So that's a completely different host name there. If we go in now and we do HTTPS 192.168.5.225, not 224, because that's the host level. Click through the certificate warnings, and then we can put in our username and password, and we'll get a warning about licensing, invalid subscriptions. We can just hit OK to get rid of that, and there we go. So we have the PVE M6500 at the top level, and we have PVE 1 operating at the guest level. So we'll go through in a bit more detail on a follow-up video about the specific steps that you need to do for nested virtualization. But for the time being, that's it. That has stood up a Proxmox PVE server, and we will be looking at how to turn that into a cluster as well as part of this series if you want to continue to watch it. Well, thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and we will catch you next time. Cheers. Bye now.